That was a bit of a weird intro to a video, but give you a bit of context. In the middle of the year, I launched a children's book. It's available on Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.com, Amazon.eu, selected sites. It's called Easter Coming. It's a silly little story. It's there to make people laugh. It's got no educational merits whatsoever. And obviously, every sale helps me continue on this little journey. Likewise, for my merchandise store, it's still available. Things get added to it periodically. There are t-shirts, bags, hoodies, stickers, all kinds of stuff on there. So, again, if you want to help the channel out, please think about picking up some merch or buying the book. But anyway, this is what you all came for. So, this is another one of the number sequence. Right. Let's talk normally. This one ended up in the naughty corner for such a long time. I didn't know what I was doing with it. It was so experimental. I was throwing ink blots at it, watercolors, paint. I really did not know where this piece was going, and I didn't have a lot of faith in it. And every time I picked it up and looked at it, I couldn't see where I was going. And as a result, yeah, it got delayed. It just got stuck in the naughty corner, as we tend to call it. But in terms of technique, we all know the technique by now. It's alcohol markers, coloured pencils on top of that, more alcohol markers, whatever I grab from my pile when it all goes wrong, and let's see what happens. But it was very, very strange, because I ended up getting gouache into this one. You see I'm working away on that weird shape at the top. Off camera, and before I decided to keep going with it, I scrubbed all that back with white gouache, knocked it right back, and came back into it again. So you ended up with like 3 or 4 different layers of ink and coloured pencil on top of that. I think that's where it sort of became an art piece. That's when I decided to start throwing the coloured pencils down on the figure. Once I got that blob of shapes and faces and weird biomechanical masses all in the layers and the depth, and not just looking like it was a mind explosion, for want of a better term. It just an unfiltered, messy blob of what goes on in my head. Once I got that sorted, and I got the confidence then to go into the figure, things started to come together. And again, the figure is standard techniques. It's the watercolor. Good God, no. The alcohol markers, coloured pencils on top of that, and then the alcohol markers on top of those. Yeah, and I would say this piece was easy, but it really, really wasn't. I didn't even know, even at this stage, I didn't know if it was going to come together in any tangible form. It was a massive struggle. But once I got through all the humps, the piece emerged. And really, that is the thing to take away from the whole experience. Every piece goes through the ugly phase where you don't want to keep working on it. And it's just finding that little, I don't know, a little bit of perseverance to keep going and actually find where the piece is taking you. Everybody said, and the fun phrase right now is trust the process, trust the process. There is no process with stuff like this. You have to just try and see where it goes. There's no process. You are you. I was throwing everything I could at it just to make it look half decent. And once I got it to the half decent, I started to polish it. And once I got the polish on, I took it to the next level. Trusting the process implies that there was a thought process involved, but there really wasn't. So, end stages here, knocking it in with some Arteza gouache. I wanted a flat colour, and I didn't have confidence in my ability to render a perfectly flat colour with alcohol markers. But I had confidence that I could do it with gouache, because really that's the best thing with gouache. And here's the final piece. You can see all the layers in that webbing and all the shapes and all the weird bleh that's vomited out of my mind. And it came out really well. I didn't expect it to come out well, but it did. I'm happy. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I'll see you next time.